Hey guys, it's Robert again from Australian Camping and Four-Wheel Drives. In Queensland, we've been having a bit of issue recently with tyres and lifts. I'm sure most Queenslanders will know this. In fact, I imagine many people from other states will know what's been going on as well. And part of the issue has come down to the vehicles that have electronic stability control built into them. In the sense that in Queensland we have different laws to what they do in other states. So my understanding, now I just want to make sure I make this disclaimer before I start, is that what I'm telling you here is information that I'm aware of, and I can be wrong on things, guys. So you need to take what I tell you with a grain of salt. You need to go and just make sure that you go and look up the information for yourself and make sure that you're happy with it, okay? But this is what I've found out when I've been doing my research as well. So I've written some notes up here for you guys so I can relay the information that I found as well. So there seems to be a lot of confusion on this whole issue. In Queensland we seem to be limited on vehicles which have electronic stability control to a maximum of a 50mm lift. Vehicles that do not have electronic stability control can go up to 75mm lift. Now both of those lifts are without having it approved by anybody else. So you can go out and do this yourself. You don't need to worry about going and getting approval from anybody else. You can lift a vehicle with electronic stability control 50mm and a vehicle that does not have electronic stability control up to about 75mm. Now in other states, my understanding is that they have 75mm on all of them. There's a lot of confusion going on. You've probably seen a lot of the news articles, guys, as well, talking about this. So I thought I'd have a little bit of a yap about some of the things I've been found as well, hey. So I just put some new tyres on as well, and I was concerned, thinking, oh, have I done the wrong thing? Are they actually going too large in that, you know? So I'll go through some of that as well, and the things that I found it through my studies, and it'll probably help you guys out as well, hey, so you can research this stuff for yourself also. So this is how I interpret the subject, okay? And it's if you go and have a look at it and you believe it differently, you believe what you believe, and I'll tell you what way I understand it. Okay, so electronic stability control vehicles, vehicles for example like the Ranger, the Mazda, BT50s, the Challenger I've got out the front, it's electronic stability controlled vehicle as well. And those vehicles are designed, essentially they've got some electronics in them to help keep the thing in line if it ever does skid out, is my understanding of it as well. So as I was saying, the electronic stability control vehicles, 50mm or less. Now, this is where for me the confusion was. There seems to be a lot of information out there. I might show you some information up on the screen as I'm going through here as well, guys. I've seen reports out there saying that the maximum lift that you can have in a vehicle with electronic stability control is 50mm, and you cannot change the tyre size. And so that's, for me, I'm thinking, oh, well, that's a bummer, because, you know, I want to lift my tyres and I want to change my lift of my vehicle. That's not going to work out. I can only have one or the other. And so what I did, I took my tyres off my vehicle, so they haven't been on my vehicle for a week or two. I took them off the vehicle, and I've just had the standard tyres on there for the moment until I find out what's been going on with all this as well. So yeah, so vehicles with non-electronic stability control, 75mm or less. The other thing I've found out is that, and this case for both of them is my understanding, your tyre lift cannot increase your height by 25mm or more. So in my research, I found an article, and I'm going to put this up on the screen for you guys as well. This is not mine. I didn't come across this. This is somebody else has come across this, and I thought it was quite interesting, because it actually goes against when people say that you cannot have a lift and tyres. From what this actually, the way this document actually reads is, yes, you can have a lift and tyres as long as the total does not go beyond 50mm. So if you believe differently, go and do your own research and see what you come up with, but this is what I've found, okay? So this is the vehicle defect checklist, and this is what I've noticed from the, there's All American Wheeling, I think it's come from by the looks of it, on the side of the document. And what it says here, this is apparently what the police are using, and it says their published vehicle height, so they put that information in there. Then they measure from the center of your hub through to the top of your wheel arch. So that's the way you actually measure the height that your vehicle has at the present time. And so I'm going to show you in a moment as well where you can get the information this for your vehicle, but that's where you need to start. You need to go out and measure your vehicle from the center of your wheel hub to the top of your wheel arch, okay? So I'll show you what I did with my vehicle in a moment also. And then the next thing it says in here, they've written down here the standard tyre size. So you need to find out what the maximum standard tyre size is for your particular vehicle. Now for the Ranger, for example, it's a 265/60/18. Now I have an 18-inch wheel on my vehicle. That's the maximum size that I can go to. I can't go any larger than that. There's a really good site that you can go to called tyresize.com/tire-size-calculator. So I should have that up on the screen there for you. You can go to that website and you can enter in the maximum tyre size that you're allowed on your vehicle. And then what you can do is if you have different tyres on your vehicle, you can enter in those details there as well, and it will provide information to you down the bottom of that page where you can select millimeters or inches and you can see what the difference in the size of those tyres is. So for example, in my situation, I've got 775 millimeters was my original size tyres, and the new tyres that I purchased the other day were 815 millimeters. So that means there's a difference of 40 millimeters between the two. Now because the lift only comes from half of that, you need to halve that value. So that's giving me a 20 millimeter lift. Now the interesting thing is when you go through this document, the next one here, it talks about the actual height, the actual lift that your vehicle gets from the tyres. And it says that you can have no more than 25 millimeters. So if your tyres are 30 millimeters higher, you're illegal. It doesn't matter what you do, you're illegal. 25 millimeters is apparently what they say here, the maximum height that you can go on your tyres, okay? So that means 25 millimeters is maximum height on your tyres, and the rest comes out of your suspension. So for example, you could have 10 millimeters on your tyres and you could have 40 millimeters on your suspension, or you could have maybe 20 millimeters on your tyres and you could have maybe 30 millimeters on your suspension. So just to give you an example of how I understand it to work anyway. What's the other thing here as well? So this I should point out to you too, if somebody's looking at this later on, this is current as today, from my understanding. Okay, so today's the 14th of September 2018. So if you're watching this later on, you're wondering what's going on here. That's part of the thing. Okay, we're in 2018. If we're miles ahead down the track, maybe this has all changed as well. Hopefully it has. Hey. So now if you want to go beyond that, you can actually go beyond those things. So you can actually go beyond 75 millimeters in a non-electronic stability controlled vehicle, but you require certain certifications. So it requires an LS9 design certification, an LS10 modification, an LT2 lane change test, and an electronic stability control test report. So there's a number of different things there that you need to actually be able to provide the police with, by the sounds of it, to prove that you're actually legal. So obviously if you don't have electronic stability control, you don't need to have that test done. But for vehicles that do, you need that electronic stability test control report as well, by the looks of it also. And I don't think there's anybody in Queensland that does it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm happy if somebody is, because I mean that'd be great news. But I'm not aware of anybody myself. Yeah. So the other thing you should check as well is you need to check your wheel track. Okay, wheel track. From my understanding, I went and had a look at my vehicle. So my vehicle is listed as 1,560 millimeters. I think it is, from the outside of one tire to the outside of the other tire. So if you go measure the back pair, for example, the outside to the outside is 1,560. Apparently you cannot go beyond 50 millimeters. So in this paperwork here, you'll see some information, and it talks about four-wheel drive vehicles no more than 50 millimeters, and it says passenger cars no more than 25 millimeters. So in a four-wheel drive, essentially you could add 25 millimeters on either side. Now having said that, you need to be aware that you're not going beyond your guards on your vehicle. So what I've done with the Ranger, I noticed that the new tyre stuck out just a fraction. And so what we've done is we've put flares on the side of the vehicle so that the tyres are actually within the vehicle frame as well. So that's another idea you could do if you wanted to. You could go down the flare pathway if you wanted to, or you might be able to get the tyres to go inward a little bit more perhaps. I'm not an expert on that type of thing. Go and have a chat with your local tyre centre and have a chat with them. They might be able to provide you some guidance there as well. Okay, so the two things you need to work out. You need to work out your lift and you need to work out your tyres, okay? So you lift, you're going to measure that from the center of the wheel hub, or the actual wheel. So go to the very center of your tire, and you want to measure that up to the guard. So if you had, for example, no change in tires, you could that difference could be 50 millimeters. So now there's a website that you can go to if you need to find this information. So you might be saying, well, okay, for example, when I measure mine, it's 560 millimeters. So you might be saying, well, what's the maximum I can go to? Sorry, not what the maximum I can go to. What was it when I actually got it from factory? That's the right one. So what was it when it came out of the factory? So there's a website that you can go to. It's called myrta.com/RVD. Okay, myrta.com/RVD, and that's the website you'll see sitting up here in the background as well. You'll see up there it's got pre-1999 vehicles and post-1999 vehicles. So all you do is you can search for your vehicle. So for example, I type in the vehicle, I select a car, I think you can select motorcycle as well. And you can select the make, so I'd select Ford, you might have a Mazda for example. And then under model, you can type in Ranger. I did try BT50, but it didn't seem to work very well. So what you can do if you're having issues with that, just don't type anything in that field. So don't type anything in the model field and hit enter, and it'll bring up every single vehicle, and then you can go through, you find your year of your vehicle, the manufacturer, and then you should be able to click on it and it'll bring up a page that looks something like this. I'll show that up on the screen there for you now. And on that page, it will have a whole heap of information. So for the Ford Ranger, I actually noticed when I was looking at this page that there was no information there on the suspension data, which is quite interesting. There's no suspension data sitting there. So you might be wondering how I've got this. So I actually found somebody else that had a link that actually linked the road vehicle description for my vehicle, and it just happened to have that information sitting there. So for example, on my vehicle, the Ford Ranger, it says that, and mine's a 2017 Ford Ranger by the way, it says the front height is a maximum of 552.3 millimeters, and the rear height is 600.5 millimeters. So if I was measuring, for example, from the center of the wheel arch to the top of the hub, the center of the wheel to the top of the arch, that would be 552 millimeters would be the standard height, and at the rear it would be 600 millimeters, 600.5 roughly. So that gives you the information you need. Now, I noticed, for example, the Mazda BT50, all the information is sitting up there. So I'll show you that up on the screen here now as well. You'll actually see that all the Mazda information sitting there as well. They are pretty much identical to the Ford Ranger. 552 and 600 millimeters for the rear. 552 for front and 600 for the rear. You also need to know the wheel track. So it's a little different actually. I noticed the Ford Ranger has a wheel track of 1560, and the wheel track of a Mazda BT50, this is I'm trying to find the year model of this one, 2012, okay, so this might have changed. But this is the 2012 one I've got sitting here. It says 1,590 millimeters, so it's a little bit wider. So you could go another 50 millimeters total, okay? So that's 25 millimeters either side is the maximum you could go out pretty much on those vehicles there as well. So you need to look up what the maximum size tyre that your vehicle can have from the manufacturer. And so some people will find that in their manuals. Other people will find it on the inside of your door frame. So I should show you a picture of what it looks like in the Ford Ranger. And you'll see some details there, and it'll show you what the maximum tyre size is. So the maximum tyre size that I have on my vehicles are 265 60 18. And so what you would do with that information is you go to tyresize.com /tire-size-calculator. Put that information in up the top, then you put your other tyre down beneath it. So my other size tyres are 275 65 18s. And so when you hit calculate, you'll see it'll bring up one area and it'll say that the tyre size of the smaller tyre is 775 millimeters, and the tyre size of the larger tyre is 815 millimeters. So that gives you a difference of 40 millimeters. Now, because essentially you're only looking at the bottom half, that's the part that's actually lifting the vehicle. The bottom half is only half that, so that's going to be half of your 40 millimeters, which is 20 millimeters. So in my situation, what I would do is I would add that 20 millimeters to the lift as well, and that would give me my total height. Okay, guys? So I hope that's helped you out a little bit, and things you want to look out for. Some other things on this document as well as vehicle defect checklist as well, which might be interesting for some of you guys as well. They're checking for extended shackles as well. Does the vehicle have an unequal lift perhaps? You know, so has the front been lifted more than the rear? Maybe that's, I don't know if that's illegal or not. Good question. Something you might want to double check on. Is the muffler not fitted? That's a good one. What have you guys with DPFs and you pulled them off? Don't know. Front windscreen, is it tinted? That's interesting. I don't know why you tint that, but some people like to go and tint their front window maybe. And this is the one that I pointed out before. It says tyre diameter or lift, tyre diameter 50 millimeters or lift more than 25 millimeters. So it says here you cannot have more than 50 millimeter diameter increase, which is essentially, or a 25 millimeter tyre lift, whichever occurs first. And they'll obviously look for mod plates for LS9, LS10 or any other approvals as well. So I hope that's helped you out, guys. I'll show you some of my calculations up the top of the screen there on how you would work it out. When I looked at my vehicle, I actually had a lift in my vehicle when I originally purchased it, and I had it for about a year and a half now, and I've noticed actually that it's sunk, and it's pretty much back at factory settings. So it hasn't. So the 2-inch lift I got, which I thought I got, it isn't 2-inch lift. It's pretty much nothing. I think in one spot it might be a couple of millimeters higher, but that's about it. So pretty much I should be safe to put my tyres on there, and that'll meet the requirements. So as long as you're within those guidelines, you should be fine, guys. As always, I mean, go and check with the professionals, ask them. I'm just a guy here trying to find out the information for myself, and I thought I'd share what I found with you guys. You may find it to be useful perhaps, and I hope this has helped you out. Alright guys, talk to you later.